The Watchtower is equal to or superior to the Holy Bible. Um, this was something that I picked up on in decades associated with Jehovah's Witnesses. As I was growing up, I can remember um, articles in the Watchtower that said ridiculous things like, if you're reading the Watchtower and Awake magazines, you're getting the equivalent of a college education. Um, I know C.T. Russell, the first president of the Watchtower Society, used to say that his books and his publications were of more value than the Bible. And that's obviously a ridiculous thing to say and think about your own works, but that's what was going on with him. I can remember in the 1970s, pre-1975, uh, we had stacks and stacks of Watchtowers and Awakes because my folks, um, we had our magazines sent to the house in the mail. And the ones that we used for field service, my folks would pick up at the Kingdom Hall. And the ones that we couldn't place or didn't get placed for one reason or another started to pile up. And that happened to a lot of families. They'd ordered, 40, 50, some people ordered over 100 magazines so they could place them in the ministry, and then they'd end up with big stacks of stuff. What are you going to use them for? You can't use them all for birdcage lining, you know. You can't use them really to start a fire in your fireplace because the ink, like in newspapers and that kind of print, I mean, it just sticks to the walls of the chimney, and then you've got a potential fire hazard. So what do you do with all these magazines? And so people started to toss them in the trash, and we were scolded one day. Um, the circuit overseer came for a visit, and he made it abundantly clear to us that we were not to be throwing Watchtower and Awake magazines away. He asked us point blank, he said, "Don't you know that the Watchtower and Awake magazines are what comprise the new scrolls that are to be opened in paradise?" Wow, that is arrogance. That is really arrogant to think that what they're writing, the crap that they write in that magazine, is what God is going to have us open up in paradise. Really, they started back then with that kind of thing, and I've seen it over the years. Just the organization this, the publications that, the organization, the organization, the organization, the organization. It is ridiculous how much power that's been given to the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses and to their ill-conceived Watchtower Society. Um, it's nothing more than a publishing company masquerading as a religion so that it can make money and not pay taxes on it. That's all it is. But they claim so much. I can remember how people used to just talk about how the Watchtower, they will tell you at your door that the Bible's the final authority, but in reality, the Watchtower is the final authority. Because, I mean, if you woke up one day and went to the Watchtower study, and in the article it said that new light had come in, and that it was discovered that Jesus Christ was not born from a virgin named Mary, but was rather hatched from a chicken's egg, every witness on the face of this planet would have to change their belief, even in something as crucial as belief in the virgin birth. They would have to change that belief, or they would not be in line with Watchtower doctrine, and they would be summarily disfellowshipped and shunned. So, I mean, that's just how insidious this corporation is. It's a cult. Um, a couple of years ago, my son came to me and told me that he wanted to join the Marine Corps. And being a loving, caring father, I was very worried because of the political climate with this, especially this type of administration in Washington. Um, I worry about all of our troops. I don't think that they're being deployed in a responsible way. I think their lives are uh, not nearly as valuable to the people in power as they really should be looked at. And so, nonetheless, I supported my son. I was proud of him because he wants to give back. But at the same time, I was worried that his life would just be thrown away over oil in the Middle East or some other nonsense. Um, my father-in-law, he started commenting to me about it, how I needed to get on him and tell him how anti-biblical being in the military is. And I said, well, I don't understand what you're talking about. Explain to me what you're talking about. And he was saying that, we're not to have anything to do with the military. And I said, well, I can understand, if you're going to follow the commandments, it says, thou shalt not kill. I said, the literal translation is, thou shalt not murder. When you're in the military, it's not murder. It's combat, but go on. And I said, there's other ways you can serve, though, if you are diametrically opposed to taking another human life regardless of your situation. There are other things you can do in the military. You can serve in the quartermaster corps. You can handle logistics. You can drive a truck and bring food to people. You can drive an ambulance or fly a helicopter to pull people out of danger. You can serve as a medic. You can serve as a medical doctor. There's a lot of things that you can do. You can even serve as a cook and not be expected. You could be what they consider a non-combatant, a conscientious objector, and you can still serve your country. And as everybody that is aware of anything about Jehovah's Witnesses know, they even uh, put that idea down. You're not supposed to have anything to do with the military, regardless of the role. Okay. And so I brought up the idea of the two Roman centurions that were mentioned in the New Testament. How when Jesus was entering Capernaum, a centurion walked up to him and told him about his servant who was gravely ill. He said, I know that if you just want to, you can help my servant and heal him. And Jesus said, go home and you will find your servant well. And then he remarked to the disciples and people around there that he had never seen anyone with more faith than that man. Now, this man was a Gentile, he was a Roman, he was a military person, he was a heathen, but at the same time, he had great faith in Jesus, and Jesus recognized that. Now, Jesus was the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and he could have made a stipulation to that Roman soldier and said, put down your arms and become a farmer, or come follow me, or do anything but be in the military. It's wrong to be in the military. And my father-in-law listened. I said, I think it's interesting that he didn't. And I mentioned John the Baptist. When he was preaching ahead of Jesus, he mentioned to a couple of soldiers who had gone to be baptized. These were Israelite soldiers, I believe. And apparently they had been collecting taxes and robbing people and behaving badly. He didn't tell them, leave your post in the military. He told them, continue on your way, do your job, and be honest with your job. And I think it's interesting that John the Baptist, who had a lot of authority as God's prophet, did not tell these men to lay down their arms and not serve in the military. And my final point was Cornelius, the first Gentile that was converted to Christianity. This was a very decent man. He was a charitable man. He was a Roman centurion. He was a leader of military men. And doubtlessly he had blood on his hands because Rome was known to be at war pretty much perpetually. They were always either conquering or putting down incursions. Insurrection was being put down continually. And he was accepted. And when Peter went to his house and all of these people that were in his home received the Holy Spirit, Peter said, there's nothing here stopping these people from being baptized in water now. He didn't stipulate that Cornelius needed to leave his post in the military. And my father-in-law stopped me right there, and he said, well, it's generally been accepted that he did leave his post in the military. And I said, well, can you show me in the Bible where that is said? And he told me, he said that it's not in the Bible, but that he remembers that there was a talk given about it. He thought at an assembly, and that the Watchtower said that Cornelius left his post in the military. And I said, well, I'm not talking about what the Watchtower says happened. I'm asking you to tell me what, under inspiration, Bible writers said about this situation. And he said, well, there isn't anything there. And I said, okay. And so I said, so in the light of what the scriptures have said about and have not said about military service, I can't in good conscience persuade my son not to join because it's a non-biblical issue. And thankfully, my son was denied because of a surgery scar. He couldn't join the Marine Corps because he had a surgery scar. One of his professors at university told him that, who had been in the Navy for 20 some years, explained to him that if he still wanted to go in the Marine Corps, that he could join the Navy. The Navy would accept him with a surgery scar. And then after 2 years of Navy service, he could lateral transfer into the Marine Corps, and he would be accepted at that point. And so I'm biting my nails and wondering if he's going to actually do that. I was worried for a little while, and then he came to me and said that he doesn't really approve of the political climate and what's happening with our military men, and he doesn't want to throw his life away over nonsensical things like oil. So he's applying his mind to learning, and we're supporting him in higher education, and we're proud of him. But yeah, most witnesses will exalt the Watchtower's commentary on the Bible over what's actually in the Bible, and I find that to be wrong. I love my father-in-law, but at the same time, I really felt like I had to talk to him and point that out. And he kind of molded over, and he didn't argue with me after that point. So, you know, be careful with the Watchtower. If you're studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm going to strongly recommend that you stop studying with them immediately. Just end it. It's a dead end. They are preaching a false Christ. They have a false gospel, and it's a doctrine that comes straight from hell. And the purpose of Jehovah's Witnesses, in my opinion, is to drag people to hell. So have a good weekend, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms.